What's up, family? It is your man, Courtney Robert Brown Jr. here at Motown Mafia Podcast. Big Boss Filmworks in the house. Hope all is well out there, family. As you see, I am at the corner of Lenox Boulevard and Malcolm X. That would be at the crossing of 127th Street. Back to the old stomping grounds. Lord knows I love Harlem. Harlem has been and was very, very good to me and mine. But this particular intersection and this particular building that we're about to get to, just going down memory lane, you know, when you go back to a city you used to live in and you have so many memories, and given the life that we used to live in this town, so many. But right here at actually 103 West 127th Street, for you guys who have may have heard bits and pieces of this story at my main man Eddie Jackson Jr. over there at Real True Street Crimes, about the events and his robbery that took place right here at 103 West 127th Street. So to give some perspective to the story and how that actually all played out, down at 106, I used to live at 106 and basically Columbus, between Columbus and Central Park West, or Morningside. And on my comings and goings, there was a group of Dominicans that I used to buy my weed from and sometimes buy some other things from. And for just bullshit weekend, hanging out with my friends kind of stuff. So me and a Dominican young man by the name of Kid Cuba, shout out to Kid Cuba and that whole Dominican crew from 106 in Manhattan. We formed a relationship. Again, it was all just really small time, just neighbors. His people owned the local bodega. I lived on the same block, so it was my local bodega, and that's where they hung out, and that's where they did their business at. So over time, again, we're doing our thing. I mean, we see each other every day as I'm coming and going. Sometimes I buy a bag of weed from them. Sometimes on the weekends, my friends want to get X, Y, and Z. We holler at Kid Cuba. So the relationship grows to the point that I tell them that sometimes I got family and friends who do come to town and want to do some more significant kind of business, because game recognized game. So it was easy enough for me to identify that Kid Cuba was not the man, but Kid Cuba definitely knew who the man was and had access to them. There is an art to identifying this, but again, game recognized game, and game recognized different levels of the game. So it was obvious he wasn't a man, but the quality and expediency that he could pretty much come across anything let one know that he had a lot of access to the man. Harlem is changing a lot from back in the day, but that's another topic for another conversation. Anyway, my main man, Eddie Jr. starts to come to town. I introduce him to Kid Cuba. Him and Cuba do some good business together. All is well. This goes on for a few months. Eventually, we go on the block one time, and Cuba's people right there in that neighborhood, that 106, 107, they didn't have the brick, which was uncommon for them, that Eddie was trying to get. So Cuba kind of took the position that he would just wait, that we needed to just wait for his man, his, as he called it, his big fella, to be available, and then we take care of the deal then. Eddie was impatient, and then one of Cuba's mans kind of cut in to like, look, I know where Cuba's man's Cuba's plug, I know his plug. Look out for me, I take y'all to him. I was a little bit hesitant on the situation, but I listened, and he said something that made me a little more comfortable. And he said, I'm thinking we got to go up to Washington Heights or something, or at least up to 145th or something like that. But he's like, no, right on 127th and Lenox, that's your, Black Harlem. You guys will be fine. Plus, I'm gonna go with you. So, throwing caution to the wind, Eddie was all in for the, that's just how he is and who he is. He's like, all right, man, we're going to do this. We're going to see what old boy talking about. I'm ride or die when it comes to my man on that kind of thing. So I'm like, and plus, I've introduced him to these people, so I can't like bail out on the deal, even though, to be totally honest, fam, I'm not feeling it, but I'm not getting a bad vibe. I'm not one that, when things are moving that quick, and we're playing big boy games here now that, anyway, I go along with it. I'm like, fuck it, we all in at this point. Let's go. So he brings us to this building here, 103 West 127th Street, and as soon as we walk in the room, they let us in, when we get into the room, one of the units, I believe, was up here on the third floor, is where Pablo and Crazy's kind of office was at. Everybody just starts speaking Spanish, and you could tell that they are not pleased with the fact that he has brought these two African-American gentlemen to their spot. A gentleman that we would later just nickname Crazy. They practiced form of Catholicism that's mixed with a little African traditional religion that is known as Santa Maria. You may have heard some of the stories again. Anyways, this is the building where me and Eddie went through the Santa Maria test, because Crazy and his associates had to light the candles and go through the cards, and then Crazy had to look in the mirror and listen for a response from his guards to inform him of either that we were informants and the police, or some kind of stick-up men on a gang move, or we were just good brothers trying to do business. As fate and God would have it, we passed the test. They served us up. We all exchanged numbers, and now Eddie now had access to the plug's plug. This is a guy that they called himself Pablo. So Pablo and Crazy kind of ran the show, but Pablo gave Eddie in particular, and me, I'm there with him, a little cryptic warning. It wasn't even cryptic. He just said, it looked like a lot of money floating around here, but if me or Crazy ain't here, don't do no business with nobody on this block. He was really clear about that. It looked like everybody got access to the bag, which they did, but they had their own dynamics going on, right? So, good enough. Services first time. Eddie come back in town on a regular basis now. We're running uptown. In fact, Eddie got so close with him, he started doing his own thing. He didn't even have to bring me with him anymore. So, he comes back to New York. I would guess he had been doing good business with Crazy and Pablo for about 3 to 4 months. This particular time, this would have been summer '93, because I just had foot surgery, which is why on this particular one run I don't go with them, because my foot was in a cast and I'm trying to heal, because I was just about to open up my store down on 125th Street at the Mart. So I don't go. Craig is with our man, Eddie Baby's with our man 250. They leave my joint in Brooklyn. They come up to the spot here at 103 West 127th Street, and Crazy or Pablo is not there. There's a cat by the name of Frankie, who we had seen around them all the time. Seemed like he was one of their lieutenants, but you got to remember the edict that Pablo had given out, which was, if me or Crazy ain't here, you guys shouldn't do no business around here. Well, I'm back in Brooklyn, healing. Eddie Baby and 250 on the mission. Long, unfortunate story short, Eddie decided to do some business with Frankie. Gave, I don't know, he was getting a brick or half a brick. Gave Frankie the cash. They went to playing some small games. They have them sitting here for a few hours. I'm back in Brooklyn like, this shit is something very bad has happened, because these things don't take that long to occur. And the way Eddie Baby tells, or Eddie Jr. tells the story, when he walked out, they finally do give him the package. But as soon as he walks out the door, they got their people down here. They pull them things out. You know, it's either let the bag go or we're gonna let these things go. Obviously, Eddie Jr. got good sense. Threw the package one way, he broke the other way. I think 250 was parked somewhere down the street here. Wasn't really in any shape to help. Then they come back to Brooklyn and inform me of what went down. And that financial setback that my brother took that day, of course, led to him then cutting back into my pops about this thing that he had going on coming out of Pakistan. So it all ended up working out really well. But yeah, just a wild day here on West 127th Street, some wild times here. There was a time, family. So just a little quick story, a little where I passed the Santa Maria test, where my boy got robbed. His robbery ended up leading him to having a even bigger, more prosperous run with the home team back home, though. So it all finished. All's well that ends well, and everybody. Main thing, he left with his life, and we left with our life the first time we came here, unannounced. I always joke with him. I said, when we were waiting on the response to the Santa Maria test, I was like, Eddie, if we die in this. It was just time to really tell a great untold Detroit story, because it kind of covers Detroit at its zenith.
Very interesting story.
We decided that we were going to make a movie.
All right, Rich Rossi with you with Motown Mafia. I'm with Courtney.
Lewis Stevens,
Courtney Brown.
Courtney Brown Jr.
And Alan Al Prophet Bradley.
And this is an entrepreneurial, inspirational story too, because again, you know, I'm a real estate retail guy. You know, that's what my skill set is. But I'm a businessman, so I was like, you know, we're gonna do it. You know, sometimes when you got a dream, you won't have all the answers on how you're gonna do what you're gonna do.
What made this one unique was not so much the crime, but the intertwining with Detroit's history and the Motown era and kind of the economic decline of Detroit. And it's really the story of a family. And from some perspectives, it's has a happy ending, like you said. For others, it didn't have a happy ending.
Right.